What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 20 right, which is a 98% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 98% win rate. So we're in a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 98% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets, or receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $200 just yesterday. Another member who won $150 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Just Rich Gates TV, who spammed up the fire emoji. Shouts out to Thomas Chow S4G, who said Isaac O going to smash. And also shouts out to Bobby Reeves B9G, who said Clippers on back-to-back. So shouts out to them. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is Brandon Ingram for rebounds and assists for 9.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Brandon Ingram, we actually have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on January 13th, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, had 17 rebounds and assists there. January 15th, faced off against Indiana Pacers, had 11 rebounds and assists. January 17th, faced off against the LA Clippers, had 8 rebounds and assists. Then 13 rebounds and assists against LA Lakers on January 19th. Then January 21st, faced off against Golden State Warriors and had 9 rebounds and assists there. So we have actually seen Ingram go on the over quite consistently, 3 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 11.6. So very interesting to see there. Now, looking at Brandon Ingram and also the matchup, Brandon Ingram and the Toronto Raptors face off against none other than Sacramento Kings. So looking at the matchup between both of these teams, starting off with Toronto Raptors, Toronto do come in at the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 26 wins and 19 losses. That's a 57.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-10 from home, 13-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see. A lot of people did not think Raptors would be in this position, but they've actually done a fantastic job all season and have put them in a really good position. And they face off against a Sacramento Kings team that unfortunately have struggled just a little bit, because they come in at the actual 14th spot in the actual Western Conference. So they are in a different conference, but they do rank pretty low. On top of that, they have 12 wins and 32 losses. That's a 27.3% win percentage. They're also 9-15 from home, 3-17 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Sacramento, they do rank a lot lower than Toronto. But looking at this matchup, we do also see, when we look at, Sacramento Kings and where they do rank defensively, starting off with actually, Sacramento when it comes to assists allowed, we do see that Sacramento Kings do unfortunately rank 21st, allowing 27.4 assists per game. So they actually allow quite a lot of rebounds there. When we look at rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Kings come in a 25th position, allowing 45.6 rebounds there. So they do allow a lot of rebounds and a lot of assists, and that's why coming into this next one, we do very much like the over for it. For someone like Brandon Ingram, we've definitely seen him do a great job, time and time again. But what we also do know when it comes to Brandon Ingram coming into this matchup, we do also know that Sacramento Kings do very much struggle at restricting rebounds and assists to the forward position. For that reason, we are definitely liking the over for someone like Brandon Ingram here. We have seen him be able to go on the over, especially against easier matchups, as we have seen over the last 5. And we definitely just see that happening once again in this one. Now, looking at, what the pros do have to say when it comes to Brandon Ingram here. Now, they actually have him for a little bit of a line of rebounds and assists of 10.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there. Obviously, we have him for 9.5, so we have him for much better. So it is very difficult to actually go, off that because it is a different line. So we can't really look at what the bookies are saying. But looking at the projection, we are actually agreeing with the projection here. We do see that they have him projected for 10.6 rebounds and assists. Now that very much works well for us because we actually have him for 9.5 on PrizePicks. And that's one of the reasons why we do like these picks. When it comes to the bookies have him for a little bit of a higher line. So I do believe we're getting a lot of value for him at that actual 9.5 mark, which I think is great. And the fact that the projection is 10.6 makes it even that much better. So for that reason, I do very much like the over for this one for someone like Brandon Ingram. So definitely keep an eye out for his line. So Brandon Ingram, 9.5 rebounds and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting to the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Josh Hart. So Josh Hart, great player, and this one is for 7.5 rebounds, and this one is for less. Now, looking at Josh Hart, we have seen him go on the under in 5 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5, we see on December 26th, faced off against Cleveland Cavaliers, had 5 rebounds there. January 12th, faced off against Portland Trailblazers, had 3 rebounds in that matchup. January 15th, faced off against Sacramento Kings, had 5 rebounds there. 5 rebounds against Golden State Warriors on January 16th. Then January 20th, faced off against Dallas Mavericks and had 6 rebounds there. So very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at, someone like Josh Hart and the New York Knicks, we have seen him average over the last 5, 4.8. So he's definitely struggled quite a bit over the last 5 games, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next game. Now, New York Knicks have themselves a very good matchup against the Brooklyn Nets, and it is definitely going to be an exciting matchup between both of these teams. Looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually New York Knicks. Knicks come in at the 3rd spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 25 wins and 18 losses. That's a 58.1% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 16-6 from home, 8-12 from away, and are currently on a 4-game losing streak. And they face off against a Brooklyn Nets team that rank 13th when it comes to the Eastern Conference, and also have a record of 12 wins and 29 losses. That's a 29.3% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 6-16 from home, 6-13 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Now, looking at both of these teams and where they do lie, we do find them in somewhat of a different position, when it comes to their ranking. But also looking at Brooklyn Nets defensively when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do see that Brooklyn Nets, although a pretty poor team, when it comes to wins and losses, we do see that they rank 10th when it comes to rebounds allowed, only allowing 43.1 rebounds per game. So they actually do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds, and that is one of the big reasons why we do like the under for this situation here. For someone like Josh Hart, we just definitely see him going on the under in this case due to the fact that when it comes to New York Knicks and Brooklyn Nets, we also do see that when it comes to this, that New York Knicks find themselves in a position where Josh Hart does play the guard position and Brooklyn do a fantastic job against his position. So that's why coming into this one, we do very much like the under for it. Brooklyn Nets do a great job overall at defending it, and they also do a great job to his position. Now, Josh Hart has struggled in the rebounding department as of lately, and this is due to just numerous factors, but obviously game plans has changed, minutes has changed, and kind of just the overall sentiment on the way they're using Josh Hart has definitely changed quite a lot, and it's led to Josh Hart not really being a big rebounder for this team. And it has shown in these multiple games, because even against easier teams, even against tougher teams, we see Josh Hart go on the under quite consistently, which is what we are expecting in this next matchup. Now, looking at this, and what the pros do have to say, we do see that they have him for the same line, and we actually are agreeing with the bookies here because they actually have him more favored for the under as well, which I think is fantastic to see. And when we also look at the projection, however, we are going against that because they have him for 7.9 rebounds. They have him for the over, so we are going a little bit against that. But then over the last 15 games, we've seen him go in the under in 60% of those matchups. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this situation here, and we definitely are liking the under coming into this one due to the fact that when it comes to Josh Hart, he has shown time and time again that his consistency is definitely more for the under here. So for that reason, Josh Hart, definitely keep an eye out for his line. 7.5 rebounds for less, I think, is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting to the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Aaron Nesmith. And this one is for points and assists. So this one is a combo one for 15.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Aaron Nesmith, we have seen him go in the over in 0 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 11th, faced off against Miami, had actually 14 points and assists there. After that, we saw him actually face off on January 13th against Boston Celtics, had 8 points and assists in that matchup. January 15th, faced off against Toronto Raptors, had 8 points and assists. Then 13 points and assists against New Orleans Pelicans on January 17th. And also January 20th, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers and had 8 points and assists there. So definitely very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Aaron Nesmith and looking at, Indiana Pacers, we do know that they have themselves a very good matchup against the Boston Celtics. Now, looking at also his average over the last 5, I do also have to mention that his average over the last 5 is 10.2. So thought I'd also make that, noted as well. But looking at this matchup and where both of these teams do lie, starting off with Indiana Pacers, unfortunately, we do know Indiana have definitely struggled quite a little bit so far this season because they actually come in at the, pretty much the worst spot at 15th in the Eastern Conference. And on top of that, they also do have one of the worst records out of all NBA teams, so East and West. But looking at them, they do rank 15th. They also have a record of 10 wins and 34 losses. That's a 22.7% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 8-16 from home, 2-18 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. Sorry. So, it definitely has been a little bit tough for Indiana Pacers so far. And, when it comes to Indiana this season, definitely they are a different team than they were last season since they did make the finals. So, Indiana, I do believe, are in a position where they are kind of tanking at this point, but they face off against a Boston Celtics team that Boston started off pretty sluggish, but they've been able to turn things around because they come in at the 2nd spot now in the Eastern Conference. So they've surprised a lot of people there. Not only that, but they also have a 26 win, 16 loss record with a 61.9% win percentage. Now they're also 12-7 from home, 14-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now looking at this matchup, we do know that Nesmith faces off against a Boston Celtics team that do rank 2nd when it comes to points allowed, actually only allowing 110 points. When we look at assists allowed, we see that assist-wise, we see that the Boston Celtics rank 9th, only allowing 25.6 assists per game. So looking at that, we do actually see that when it comes to, the matchup between both of these teams, although Boston do rank very well at restricting, points and assists, why do we like the over for this one? Now, a few key reasons. Now, the first actually being is that when we actually look at Indiana and the way they play Aaron Nesmith, Nesmith tends to play actually that small forward position. And because of that, we do also know that when it comes to the Boston Celtics, they do actually struggle at restricting points and assists to his position. So we definitely see someone like Aaron Nesmith being able to take advantage of this and go on the over there. Now, I do also have to mention when it comes to this matchup, we are expecting some injuries that definitely can have a big effect there. Now, although the per position basis is definitely still a big argument for us, I do believe these are some to still definitely be, wary about. Obi Toppin's not going to be playing in this game. Same with Benedict Mathurin, Tyrese Halliburton still out, but also from Boston Celtics, We do know Tatum's out, but also Josh Minnow is out, and Jaylen Brown is expected to be out for this game. Now, as I mentioned before, Jaylen Brown is a game time decision, but even if he decides to play, we still do like the over for this one. But it definitely just does give us, a little bit more of an edge having him out as well. Now, another big reason is that when we actually look at Nesmith, he has struggled quite recently, and I do believe that his struggles as of lately has brought this line a little bit too low, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this one. When we look at Nesmith over the actual pros and what they do have to say here. So obviously we have him for points and assists for 15.5. Now they have him for 16.5. So it's a little bit of a different line. And that's why it is kind of difficult to go off what the bookies are saying there. What I would say though is that we are going against the projection, because the projection that they do have is 13 points and assists. So that is, significantly on the under compared to, why we like the over. But as I mentioned before, with all the different sort of, I would say kind of external factors being taken into consideration, we do very much like the over with the injuries and also with the pace of this game and also, per position. Now, when we look at the last 15, he's also only, gone on the over in 40% of those games. So he has struggled over the last 15 for sure. So as I mentioned before, yes, we are going a little bit against the grain here, but as I mentioned before, with the external conditions taken into consideration, we do very, very much like the over. And we just believe that this line now is a little bit too low, especially for 15.5 on PrizePicks. And we definitely see them going on the over. So Aaron Nesmith, 15.5 points and assists, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Scottie Barnes. So Scottie Barnes, definitely interesting pick here because we actually have him for points and rebounds for 31.5, and this one is for less. Now looking at Scottie, we have seen him struggle actually going on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games here. Now we do see January 13th faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, had 19 points and rebounds in that matchup. January 15th faced off against Indiana, had 33 points and rebounds. And when we look at January 17th, faced off against the LA Clippers and had 31 points and rebounds, had 31 points and rebounds against the LA Lakers on January 19th. Then January 21st, faced off against the Golden State Warriors and had 33 points and rebounds there. Now, looking at that, we do also see when it comes to Scottie Barnes and also, his last 5 games, we do know that his average over the last 5 is also 29.4. So on the under in this case. Now, we have touched on this lineup before, but Toronto Raptors face off against the Sacramento Kings. Now, this is definitely going to be an interesting game here, but looking at both of these teams and where they do lie, obviously starting off with Toronto. Toronto come in at the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 26 wins and 19 losses, as a 57.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-10 from home, 13-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at their matchup, as we've mentioned, they face off against a Sacramento Kings team that do actually rank 14th. So they rank 14th in the Western Conference and have a record of 12 wins and 32 losses. That's a 27.3% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 9-15 from home, 3-17 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know when it comes to actually, Sacramento and, Toronto. Looking at where Sacramento Kings do rank defensively, we see that they rank 27th when it comes to points, actually allowing 120.7 points per game. And on top of that, we also do know when it comes to rebounds allowed, we see rebounds-wise, Kings rank 25th, allowing 45.6 rebounds per game. So very, very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at that, we have seen, Sacramento Kings do struggle at restricting points and rebounds. But why do we like the under for this? And a big reason being is that when we look on a per position basis, we do see a little bit of a different story because Sacramento Kings actually do a fantastic job at restricting points and rebounds to the, small forward position. which is what, Scottie usually plays. And that's why we do very, very much like the under for this one. Now, for someone like Scottie Barnes as well, we also have seen him struggle to hit this line quite consistently. As I mentioned, he's going on the under in 3 out of the last 5. And we definitely see that being a huge case here on why we still do very much like the under. We definitely see that happening in this case. And also when we look at, what the pros do have to say about it as well. Now, when we look at points and rebounds, they do have him for 30.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there. So it is kind of difficult to go off that. Now, when we look at what the bookies are saying, it is kind of difficult, as I mentioned, to really compare. So we can't really compare there, but looking at the projection, we can definitely use that because they actually have projected for a 29.6 points and rebounds. Now, the reason why that's, kind of big for us there is because that is projecting for the under. So we are actually agreeing with that there. So that's why coming into this matchup, we do very, very much like the under for this one. Now, when we look at someone like Scottie Barnes over the last 15 games, we also have seen him struggle to hit this line consistently, as we've mentioned. He's gone on the under in 60% of these matchups. So he's only gone on the over in 40% of those. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the under for it. And we definitely see him going on the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for someone like Scottie Barnes coming into this game. So points and rebounds, 31.5. For Scottie Barnes for less, I think is a great pick. So getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Knueppel, and this one is at points and assists, so another combo one for 20.5, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Con, we have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 11th, faced off against Utah Jazz, had 18 points and assists there. January 13th, faced off against the LA Clippers, had 22 points and assists. Then January 16th, faced off against the LA Lakers, had 23 points and assists. Then January 18th, had 26 points and assists against the Golden State Warriors. And then Denver Nuggets on January 19th had 17 points and assists there. So very, very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Con, we have seen him go on the over in actually 3 out of the last 5 games. But his average over the last 5 is also 21.2. So it is going to be an exciting matchup here because Charlotte Hornets have themselves a matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte have definitely struggled so far this season, but they definitely have been exciting to watch. But they rank 12th in the Eastern Conference, actually having a record of 16 wins and 27 losses. That's a 37.2% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 7-12 from home, 9-15 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. Now, getting into their matchup or who they face off against, which is Cleveland, they rank 7th in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 24 wins and 20 losses. That's a 54.5% win percentage there. And when we look at that, we also do see 14-11 from home, 10-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So looking at that, we definitely do see that Cleveland are ranked a little bit better than Charlotte, unfortunately. And looking at Cleveland Cavaliers and where they do rank defensively, however, we do see Cavaliers, when it comes to points allowed, they do rank 21st, actually allowing 117.8 points per game. So they do allow a lot of points there. Then looking at actually assists allowed, we do see Cleveland Cavaliers in somewhat of a similar position as they do rank 20th as well, allowing 27.4 assists. So although Cleveland are a top team in a sense that they are in the playoff picture, when it comes to them defensively, they do very much struggle at restricting, points and assists, which is why we do like the over for this situation here. Now, for someone like Con, we definitely see him going on the over due to the fact that when it comes to this matchup, what we notice the most is that, also Cleveland do also struggle at restricting points and assists to Con's position. So we should see Con be able to take advantage of this coming into this matchup for sure. Now, when we look at the matchup between Cleveland and Charlotte, what we also are expecting as well, pace-wise, I know a lot of people know Cleveland for being a little bit more slower paced, but we are expecting Charlotte to actually speed up Cleveland. So, because of that, we definitely still see that having a huge effect here due to the fact that we are expecting, the pace to be somewhat similar to what Con's used to. So we aren't actually expecting a, change in pace. A fast-paced game for this one, Faster pace leads to more volume leads to more opportunity to score and also play make. Now, when it comes to both these teams, both are experiencing some sort of injuries. We have Sam Merrill out, Darius Garland, Max Strus for Cleveland. We also have KJ Simpson, Mason Plumlee, Tijan Saloon, who's also out for Charlotte. So, you know, overall, some injuries definitely could have a massive effect, but I do believe whether they do end up playing miraculously, we don't really see it changing much this line. We do very much like the over for it. So looking at Con and what they do have them for the pros, now they have them for 21.5, so different line there. But what we also do see is that when it comes to the line here and what the bookies have to say, it is somewhat similar. So as you see, they do actually have him for a pretty decent, bookies line. So because of that, when we also look at the projection is 24.1 points and assists. So that kind of works out in our favor there. You know, we are agreeing with the projection there, since as well we have him for 20.5 only on PrizePicks. So we actually got him for a very, very good deal. Now, what really does also separate this is that in the last 15 games, we've seen him go on the over in almost 70% of these matchups, 66.7. So Con has definitely done a great job here. Whether he faces off against a tough team, easy team, his usage rate remains very high, volume remains very high. And for that reason, Con, we definitely do like the over for it. So for that reason, Con Knueppel, 20.5 points and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick.